If you're eating plant-based, doing everything right as far as you can tell, but something feels seriously wrong, you're either not losing weight, you're struggling to stay consistent, or just intuitively something doesn't feel quite right with your diet, this video is for you. I've coached over 600 plant-based eaters since 2019, and the plant-based folk that get in the best shape all follow these boring but often overlooked rules. These are the rules that I also live by after 10 years now eating this way. Let's get into it. Rule number one, fewer meals equals less planning. I'm a big believer that simplicity is king. I literally eat, you wouldn't believe it, the same stuff every single day, and so do my top clients. We're talking tofu scrambles, the tofu stir fries, the all-in-one yogurt bowl, my plant protein sludge, no tuna, chickpea salad sandwiches, of course the hummus and veggie sandwiches, fruit and rice cake snacks. Those are like, I don't know how many meals I've just listed, 5 or 6 meals. I don't even eat all of those 6 meals over the course of 1 week necessarily. These are the meals that I rather rotate over the whole month. And so yeah, fewer options, less decision fatigue, less chance of overwhelm, and less thinking and planning and meal preparation and food shopping. All of these things just increase diet friction, give you more reasons to not stay the course, and also having fewer options is really good for managing your appetite as well and getting everything in sync with your body over time. You know what to expect, you can plan your day around it. Fewer options, more control. Rule number two, beans, lentils, tofu, or tempeh twice per day. This has been a great formula for me personally. It's how I program a lot of my client meal plans as well. Not just because of the predictable, obligatory plant protein argument, but beans really, really good for fiber content as well, amongst a series of other nutrients, it must be said. But when it comes to feeling full and satisfied, happy, nourished by your plant-based diet, I can't think necessarily of many better food groups than the legume category. And yes, I extend this to tofu and tempeh. I do not, it's not one of our rules today, but I do not share in a lot of that fear mongering around soy. Rule number three, the sugar in fruit is fine and it's in no way comparable to those highly processed junk foods that yes, absolutely contain large amounts of added refined sugars, but let's remember also a bunch of other chemicals, additives, nasties, and calorie contributors as well. Fruit, such a distinction from those things. And in fact, what a wonderful source of nutrients fruit is. And fresh fruit, to be singled out from dry fruit especially, fresh fruit, wonderfully low calorie density as well. So if you're a plant-based eater that wants desperately to get that scale moving, fruit is actually your best friend, contrary to the sugar, sugar, sugar narrative. Rule number four, one-pot meals really are the cheat code. Fewer ingredients, fewer decisions to make, and fewer excuses, of course. I love the one-pan meals as dinners. We come home from a tough day, maybe we're taking care of the kids' food, we just throw all of our stuff into one giant pot and let it simmer for 20, 25, 30 minutes, whatever it is. If you've got an Instapot or an air fryer, wow, even better, some of the stuff you can do there. Wonderfully convenient. And so in the winter on my program, we're doing lots of the meatless chilies, the lentil and veg soup is popular, ramen dishes, I mentioned tofu stir fry. All right, you got to cook the rice separately, but all of these, minimal prep type meals, they really are the cheat code. In the summer, we're doing the big giant salads, throw it all into one bowl, and you are good to go. Rule number five, eat both carbohydrates and fat, not one or the other. You don't have to pick and choose. Where there is lots of agreement in the diet world is on the importance of protein. Whether there is lots of debate and dispute amongst various nutrition communities is about the carbs versus fat conversation. Which one of those is the cause of all our health ailments, obesity, so on and so forth, the devil incarnate? I agree with neither. What you quickly learn, if I didn't know before, which I did, what you quickly learn as a weight loss coach is nothing supersedes calories as the primary driver of client success stories. Macronutrients still matter and there's still a valid conversation to have around them. But really, what I've learned so well is my diet is far more nourishing, enjoying, satisfying, sustainable, therefore, when I have some degree, not equalizing, but some degree of balance with my macronutrients. So we do our macro balance plate. We have a good source of plant protein, good source of healthy fat, and a good source of carbohydrate as well. None of this excessive fear around carbs or fat or it's the calories that control the scale weight at the end of the day, and nourishing your body with a diverse mix of both macro and micronutrients, I think is crucial. You don't have to pick and choose. Rule number 6, exercise helps, but diet does the heavy lifting. We already know that nutrition is by far and away the most important lifestyle practice for minimizing chronic disease risk, but that should not be a green light to simply eat healthy and sit on the settee all day. There are plenty of both physical and mental health and well-being benefits to doing some exercise, or a really decent amount of exercise. And I think one of the big misconceptions with exercise is you actually don't need as much as you think to feel massively better and to see really good health outcomes either. For me personally, it's about the daily steps supplemented with 2 to 3 strength training sessions per week, maybe some light, gentle cardio, a game of tennis here and there, sitting on the recumbent bike on the gym after some of those strength sessions for 20 minutes. A bit of gentle cardio can really be a little cherry on the cake as well, but you don't need an awful lot. If it was only about exercise, I would not have runners and swimmers and cyclists and avid sports players reach out to me every week like they do, saying, Ryan, please could I join your program? Plant-based diet rule number 7, now the penultimate on our list here. This one is relevant if the scale is stuck. Calories still matter, even if it's healthy. You might well have been told that you can eat as much as you like without having to think about things like calories and portions, as long as you're eating whole plant foods. I would say, if that's what you've heard, you've been given very, very poor advice indeed. There is still a calorie ceiling to healthy food that, if you go through, will result in weight gain. Yes, we can make the argument that if the composition of your diet is very healthy, that is likely going to be better or lend itself more kindly to calorie control than a very junk food filled or animal product rich diet. Yes, I agree with that. That is not the same as saying, oh, don't worry about calories though, which I think is really, really poor advice. Yes, you can still overeat on healthy food. Simultaneously, if you find the scale is still dropping and you're getting too lean for your liking, again, you don't need to switch diets, you don't need to go to keto now or do anything radical. You're simply eating too few calories. With that bump, you'll find that your weight becomes more stable. Lastly, but most certainly not least, rule number 8, don't forget about supplementation. We all know about B12, that probably doesn't need to be covered here. What does get overlooked though is omega-3, in other words, a DHA/EPA supplement from algae. And second to that, of course, vitamin D, which I often recommend with K2 as well. So that is personally my mandatory supplement stack. I do B12, vitamin D, and what's the other one? Omega-3. I also am a big fan of creatine monohydrate, but I don't necessarily view that as being absolutely mandatory. So yes, we fill in the gaps. We agree that a balanced, varied, whole foods, plant-based diet is going to be wonderfully nutritionally anyway, but we fill any gaps as an insurance policy just to make sure. Don't forget the supplementation. Those are my 8 plant-based diet rules I still religiously live by, even after 10 years eating this way. Here's the uncomfortable truth as we finish though. I don't think that anyone struggling on a plant-based diet is inherently lazy, or they have some massive knowledge gap that needs filling, or they're missing some fancy hack to be the final piece of the puzzle. Rather, I think social media hams us up with all of these quick fixes and magic pill solutions, and only feeds that desire for immediate results and instant gratification. What I also see a lot in the plant-based community especially is an over-obsession, I would say, with recipes and what I eat in a day videos. Those things are fun, but they're completely redundant if you haven't got the core foundation diet sorted. And I think a lot of people are stuck with the quick fixes, the fancy stuff, the fun recipes, whilst overlooking the boring, very unsexy, but battle-proven, time-tested, foundational rules for plant-based nutrition. Get these things right, sprinkle the fancy stuff, the fun recipes on top, that's when you've got your winning formula. But don't skip to all the cool stuff, the flashy stuff, before you get that foundational diet sorted, the kind of diet that makes it really hard to not have life-changing health success on a plant-based diet. If you want the full Slim and Sustain rule set after hundreds of clients coached, go down below. I've written it up into a document that's on the house for you to skim through for further brainwashing. See you in the next one.